Howdy, y'all. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing all right. I've got a little cold, so I may not sound exactly the same, but that's not our biggest issue. Our biggest issue is the troubles with Advanced 360. So we are doing the best that we can, and I know you're doing the best that you can, and I appreciate the flexibility. Do try to keep in mind that I'm all about learning and what you've learned by the end and what evidence I have for that. Now, that's tough right now because the evidence in test scores, some of the test scores have just disappeared. So I'm going to have to take that into account and trust that you've done all of the tests that you can do up to this point. Now that it's advanced seems to be more stable, the scores that you do from now on should stay online, and I will just take the average of the ones that you do from now on. If there is anyone who has done all of the tests, including the final, you're going to have to talk to me and we'll come up with a plan B. But for everybody else, just take all the quizzes from here on out, and we will actually just take the averages of the ones that you've taken since it's stabilized, and all the scores will be there. And if those are all A's, then you'll get A's. So that's the best we can do, and I don't really want you to go back and spend more time taking tests that you've already got an A on. If you haven't gotten A's, then let me know. If a test sticks and won't let you retake, remember you can retake as many times as you want. And so I think I've reset them all, but if you need me to go in and manually reset a test so that you can take it again, you let me know. It's supposed to automatically reset. So you always try to just log out and log back in. And if that doesn't work, you can text me and say, hey, will you please reset test A for me, or whatever it is. All right. So let's look at what we can do this week. Couple of things to note. First thing I'm gonna, ooh, that's not the one I wanted. That's a good one, but it's not the one I wanted. Let's try this. Let me try sharing the correct one. How about the course calendar? That's the one I wanted. Okay, so you see on this week, maybe you don't see because it's so small. On this week, May 28th through June 3, we're beginning to look at questions that you would write for quantitative things, and we're going to look at the specific types. If it's a correlation, how do you write a question for that? If you're comparing one group pre and post tests, how do you write the question? And that would end up being a t-test usually. Or taking two groups, like a control and an experimental group, and comparing the gains. How do you write those questions? And I'll show you an example in just a minute. In the meanwhile, in the ideal world, you would be finishing the quiz on chapters 10 through 12 this week, and you will, and I've moved these dates on the calendar. I have changed the dates. The calendar has been updated on the course site to reflect discussion post 5, that's assignment number 5, is due on May 31. That's 2 days from now. And discussion post 6, which is a bit more complicated, I'm going to stretch it out to June 5th. And I will actually get that completely posted tomorrow, because I'm reconstructing things because things just disappeared. But discussion post 5 is up and live. So let's take a quick look at discussion post 5 and see what that does. See, let's just share the desktop and move things around. So here we go. In week 3, which is live and published, you see you've got assignment 5, assignment 6, which will be on discussion posts now. And all you have to do from the lesson is click on assignment 5, and it will take you to the discussion post that says assignment 5, writing questions for correlations and simple comparisons, which are usually t-tests. So it's got instructions, a little bit of background, and I've given you this little table. When you're doing a correlation, let me amplify this bigger. When you're looking at a correlation, the question will be, is there a relationship between this variable and this variable? Now, my example in the right-hand column here is when I'm studying collegiality and its effect on the end-of-course test scores. The correlational question is there a relationship between collegiality and end-of-course scores? You would think that working together on the common goal of student learning would increase course scores. But it may increase it, it may decrease it. And we just want to know, is there a relationship? That correlation does not say collegiality causes end-of-test scores to go up or to go down. We're only saying, is there a relationship? And so the wording for your research question, if it's a correlation, it's going to be that simple. It's going to be, is there a relationship between this and that? The second one, which would commonly be a nice dependent t-test, is just a comparison pre-post. If you're trying an intervention and you're looking at one group, the question is going to be simple. Is there a significant difference between the mean of our measure before the treatment and the mean after the treatment? In other words, are the pre-scores significantly lower or the post-scores significantly higher than the pre's? Hopefully, I mean, that's kind of what you're aiming for. That's a really simple one, and in most cases, you'll need to be a bit more complicated. But we'll talk about that, how to make things, how to get more complexity out of the same question. The next one, when you're comparing two groups, and usually this is a treatment group that's getting an intervention, getting a teaching technique, or getting a counseling technique, whatever your case may be, with one group, and then not doing, and then you do it with one group and you don't do it with one group. So you're comparing the group gains. You're not just comparing their post scores, okay? Or not, because we have to control for differences in the groups. So we want to control, when we're comparing two groups, we usually look at the gains made over time. If your intervention is helpful, the gains will be bigger in the group that had that treatment. or had that pedagogy versus the group that didn't. So we're looking at gains, which means you take the post score minus the pre-score to see what the gains. If I made a 87 on the pre-test and a 100 on the post-test, my individual gain is 100 minus 87, 13 points. You're asking, is the mean for the class bigger when you use that teaching technique compared to is the gains for the class where they didn't? Anyway, follow the wording. This is all you're doing is writing your question. You're taking your independent variable and your dependent variable and you're sticking them into the question format. This is my example over to the side. Just follow the format. Use your independent and dependent variables that you've been talking about in your quantitative. Now, I only want you to take one IV and one DV and then write 3 different questions. One using the correlational format, one with the one group, and one with 2 group. I hope I haven't confused you, but here we go. I'll summarize it one more time. Correlational is there a relationship? If one goes up, does the other one go up? Or if one goes down, does the other one still go up? If the one group pre and post is simply did they come out knowing more than they did, or did they improve in their stress management skills over time? That's usually that. And for a 2-group comparison, which is one with the treatment, one without, and how much gains did they make? But this should be cookbook stuff. Identify your IV and DV and just plug them in to the wording in the middle column. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, it should be as simple as that. I look forward to seeing your posts, and this is us playing with your ideas and you understanding what the different choices are for the way you're looking at things. So we're still really at the beginning of looking at quantitative questions. You've complicated the matter. Now we're just trying to go through and look at the choices of what you might settle with. Okay. Sorry, I say my okay, Rolla. I'm having trouble thinking. I've got a cold. I hope you're doing better than me. Let me know when you have questions, and I will see you online.